After my brother's wedding, I was told to wash the dishes for 100 guests. You're good for something after all, my aunt snickered. I cleaned in silence until I found the envelope labeled tips. I counted it twice. Then I stood on the table and said, "This is going to be fun." Then came the sound of boots and a deep voice. I'm a 42 female. I live in Roanoke, Virginia, where I work as a high school librarian. I've been here most of my life. My family's lived in Virginia for generations, small towns, big opinions, and a long memory for who's done what and who owes who. I've always been the responsible one. The helper. The good daughter. Not the fun one, not the successful one, and definitely not the one people toast at dinner parties. I don't have a husband or kids, which seems to make some people in my family uncomfortable, like I've broken an unspoken rule. My younger brother Bryce, 36 male, was always the golden child. He was charming, easygoing, and pretty much always got what he wanted. When our dad died of a heart attack suddenly, I was 17 and Bryce was 12. My mom kind of, emotionally imploded. She never remarried. Never really recovered, either. She retreated into church groups and casseroles, and I became the one who held everything together. I helped raise Bryce. I paid for half of his SAT tutoring. Bought him a car when he turned 18, nothing fancy, but reliable. Co-signed his student loans for UNC Chapel Hill. Helped him move twice. I've been the one helping coordinate birthdays, holidays, funerals. I was the one holding Mom's hand at the hospital when she passed 6 years ago. I'm not saying all this to play martyr. I did it because I love my family. But I think now, looking back, I also did it because I thought that if I just kept showing up, eventually I'd be seen as valuable. I was wrong. The wedding was at a vineyard outside of Fincastle, up in the Blue Ridge. It was early May, everything was green and lush and blooming. The kind of scenery you'd see on a greeting card. Bryce was marrying Nadia, a woman he met at work. She works in real estate and has a smile like a pageant winner. I don't dislike her exactly. She's polite, always makes an effort. But there's this underlying tone, like she's constantly evaluating everyone around her, figuring out who's worth her time. I arrived early to help set up the reception area. Folding napkins, checking candles, making sure the signs were correct. I don't even remember being asked. I just assumed that's what I was supposed to do. The ceremony was beautiful. People cried, cheered, and clinked glasses. I smiled when I was supposed to smile, and hugged the right people. Ate quietly at my table while the family buzzed around Bryce and Nadia like bees around honey. I was barely halfway through my cake when Aunt Rena walked over. Now she's something else. My dad's older sister. She's the type of woman who critiques your appearance while pretending it's a concern. Once told me at a Thanksgiving dinner, "I'd kill for your bone structure, Meryl. Too bad you don't show it off more. All these sweaters." She tapped me on the shoulder. "Sweetie, could you give the caterers a hand? They've packed up and gone. We need someone to handle the dishes." I blinked. Wait. They're not doing cleanup? She shook her head and gave me that tight little smile. Long day. They left. Just need someone to rinse and stack so we're not fined. You're good for something after all. Then she chuckled and walked off like she'd just handed me a party favor. I sat there, stunned. I looked around at my cousins laughing, drinking wine, dancing barefoot on the grass. Bryce was taking selfies with his new in-laws. No one even looked in my direction. So I got up. Walked into the back of the venue, where they had a small kitchen set up. And there they were, towers of plates, glasses, silverware, half-eaten slices of cake, lipstick-smudged flutes. And I started scrubbing. I scrubbed for over an hour. Maybe more. I lost track. My hands went raw from the hot water. My dress had splatters on it. No one came to check. No one offered to help. I could hear the music, the cheering, the DJ announcing the bouquet toss. And then, while rinsing a punch bowl, I noticed something tucked behind a stack of trays. An envelope. It was slightly crumpled, addressed in Sharpie, "Tips, staff." I opened it. And counted. $2,300. Mostly 20s and 50s. 1 or 200. I counted it again. It was like something inside me broke open. Or clicked into place. Maybe both. I dried my hands. smoothed out my dress. And I walked back into the hall. I climbed onto the buffet table, right in front of the dance floor. The music was still going, but people started turning toward me. Some laughed. I guess they thought I was drunk or doing a joke. I held up the envelope. "Hey!" I shouted. "Whose money is this?" People started murmuring. I wasn't angry. Not in the yelling sense. I was clear. Like my whole life had just focused into one perfect moment of sharp vision. "This envelope was sitting in the kitchen," I said. $2,300. Says staff tips. I just spent the last 2 hours washing every dish you people use tonight. Dead silence. I locked eyes with Aunt Rena. She looked like she'd seen a ghost. I wasn't asked. I was told. Like I'm the family help. Like my presence here is conditional on what I can do for you. But let's be real, that's how it's always been, hasn't it? I turned toward Bryce. "Little brother. Do you remember who drove you to every college tour? Who helped you move across state lines twice? Who paid your first month's rent?" He opened his mouth. Closed it again. People were frozen. No one moved. No one interrupted. That's when Nash stepped in. And this is where things really started to get wild. Nash had been standing just outside. He was my ride. We'd known each other for about 5 years, met at a school board function, oddly enough. He's a quiet type, former military, now working private security in Blacksburg. I had asked him to swing by later in the evening to help me load a gift I bought that was too bulky to carry on my own. He wasn't supposed to come inside, but I guess the yelling, or maybe the eerie stillness that followed, caught his attention. He walked in just as I finished my little speech. Boots on wood floor. That echo you hear when someone solid walks into a room meant for dancing and whispers. Nash doesn't do drama. Doesn't raise his voice. But his presence is loud. He looked around the room slowly and then to me. "Everything all right, Meryl?" I nodded once. "Peachy." I turned back to the room and held the envelope higher. This isn't about money. This is about being expected to serve without acknowledgement. For years, I've cleaned up after you people. Not just tonight. Always. After Mom's stroke, who stayed at the hospital overnight while you rotated through for your 30-minute appearances? After Dad's funeral, who filled out the insurance paperwork while the rest of you argued over who gets his coin collection? Still silent. I didn't cry. Not once. Not even a shake in my voice. That surprised even me. I spent 2 hours tonight washing lipstick off wine glasses while y'all danced and posted pictures of your outfits. And then I found this, I said, waving the envelope again. A fat envelope full of cash labeled for people who weren't even allowed to finish their job. I spotted the event planner by the door. She looked horrified, mouthing something to the DJ who was trying to fade the music down without making it obvious. I turned toward her. "Did you know the caterers were told to leave before cleaning?" She looked startled. "No. I thought they had helped." She looked toward Aunt Rena. "Did they?" I asked, now locking eyes with Rena again. She looked cornered. Like she'd rather melt through the floor than answer. Bryce finally stepped forward, clearing his throat. "Mayor, I think maybe we could have asked for volunteers, but, look, we just thought you wouldn't mind helping. You always do." There it was. That line. You always do. That's when it clicked for everyone in the room, I think. Because it was true. I always do. Nash stepped closer now, calm and steady. He wasn't about to throw a punch, he wasn't that type. But something about the way he positioned himself made people take a step back. "She didn't come here to work," he said, speaking slowly, clearly. "She came to support her brother. She came to be part of your family. And y'all treated her like help." People were murmuring now. A few cousins looked at their feet. One of Nadia's bridesmaids gave a half shrug like she was embarrassed just to be witnessing the whole thing. I handed Nash the envelope. "Make sure this gets where it should." And then I got down from the table, stepped off onto the floor, and walked toward the exit. And here's what stuck with me most: no one stopped me. No one rushed to apologize. Not Bryce. Not Rena. Not Mom's sisters. Just Nash, following quietly behind me, envelope still in hand. Outside, the night air was cool and smelled like lavender. The vineyard's flood lights lit the gravel path like something out of a romance movie. I didn't cry. I didn't even feel shaky. I felt calm. Nash unlocked the truck. I slid in without a word. We didn't drive away immediately. Just sat there for a while. "You good?" he asked softly. I nodded. "I think so." For the first time in a while. And I meant it. Because that wasn't just about a wedding. That wasn't about a night of dishes and an envelope of tips. That was about a lifetime of quiet, unspoken expectations that I had finally said no to. And whether my family liked it or not, I had finally chosen myself. The next morning, I expected the blowback to come hard and fast. It didn't disappoint. My phone started buzzing at 7:13 a.m. First was a text from my cousin Daniela. "Hey, it what happened last night, but Rena's furious. Just wanted to say I think you were right to say something." Then a voicemail from my mother's sister, Aunt Jolene. "Meryl, sweetheart, I think we need to talk about what happened last night. There's a time and a place for everything, and I'm not sure the reception was the right moment to air dirty laundry. Please call me back." I didn't. The texts kept rolling in. A few showed support, but most were passive-aggressive jabs disguised as concern. "Next time just speak up before you explode. You could have pulled Bryce aside instead of making a scene. Nobody meant to hurt you, don't you think you overreacted a little?" I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I went to work that Monday, shelved books in silence, answered student questions about overdue returns, and quietly let the chaos swirl around me from a safe distance. Nash checked in a couple times, but he didn't hover. That's what I appreciated most about him. He gave me space without making me feel abandoned. He didn't try to fix it or tell me how brave I was. He just let me be. Bryce didn't call. Not for days. What he did do, however, was send a text, 5 days after the wedding. One line. "Can we talk?" I stared at it for a full 5 minutes before answering. "Sure. Call after 7. He called at 7:06. "Hey," he said. His voice sounded tired. "Hey," I replied. Long pause. "I didn't realize how bad it was," he said eventually. "I mean, how much you've done. How much we expected from you." "You didn't have to realize it," I said, quietly. "You were living it." "I know." Another pause. "I messed up." That was the thing with Bryce. He could admit guilt without ever sounding truly remorseful. Like someone apologizing for stepping on your toe by accident rather than standing on it for 20 years. "Rena's still pissed," he added. "Let her be," I said. "I don't care." He gave a small laugh, like he couldn't believe I meant it. "I want to fix this," he said. I didn't respond immediately. I looked around my living room, books piled on the side table, a half-finished crochet project, a cold cup of tea. All the quiet parts of my life that never asked anything from me but time and attention. "How?" I asked finally. "I don't know yet," he admitted. "But I want to try." It wasn't perfect. It wasn't even satisfying. But it was something. That weekend, I turned down an invitation to brunch with the extended family. Word had gotten out that I was back to normal, whatever that meant. Instead, I spent the morning in my garden, digging my hands into the soil, replanting basil and rosemary, and repotting a hydrangea I'd neglected for too long. It felt symbolic. For years, I'd been growing things in other people's yards. Investing time and love into gardens that were never mine. Now, I was putting that energy into something that belonged to me. Later that day, Nash showed up with a bag of groceries and a 6-pack of local cider. He didn't say much. Just handed me a bottle, sat on the porch steps, and passed me a slice of cheddar. We sat there as the sun started to dip below the trees. "You know," he said eventually, "that was one hell of a way to make a point." I laughed, a real one. From the belly. It had been a while since something felt that good. "I didn't plan it," I said. "It just happened." He nodded. "Sometimes that's the best kind." We didn't talk about the family again that evening. Didn't have to. The silence between us wasn't awkward. It was full. Like a space that had finally been cleared out after years of clutter. That night, I slept without waking. No dreams. No guilt. Just rest. But the ripple effects of what happened at that wedding weren't done. Not by a long shot. Because Aunt Rena had plans of her own. And the family was about to turn the spotlight right back on me, whether I wanted it or not. The first warning came through a Facebook notification. A photo of me, taken during the wedding, standing by the kitchen sink. My dress was stained with something, red wine, I think, and my hair was frizzed out from the heat. I wasn't posing or smiling. Just washing dishes with my back slightly turned. It was posted on Rena's profile with a caption, "Some people only know how to make a scene when the spotlight isn't on them. So sad when the family forgets how to behave." Passive-aggressive poison. Served cold and in public. Within an hour, the comments section was swarming. Some of them are subtle digs. Others just straight-up attacks. Family means helping, not humiliating. Imagine thinking you're more important than the bride on her day. Some people thrive on drama. SMH. I didn't engage. But I screenshotted everything. Every comment. Every day. Every distant cousin or church friend chiming in to scold me for what happened. I also noticed something else. Several comments from vendors who had worked the wedding were quietly chiming in, hinting they hadn't been paid. One even wrote, "Glad someone found the envelope. We were told there'd be cash tips waiting. We got nothing." That stuck with me. So I did something I hadn't done in a long time. I got strategic. I spent the next week in quiet research mode. I spoke to the event coordinator, Melissa, a sweet woman in her early 30s who had seemed genuinely horrified that night. We met for coffee. I told her what I'd overheard about the caterers being dismissed early, about the envelope I'd found. Melissa sighed. I knew something was weird. They kept asking about tips. I assumed Rena was handling it. Did they ever get paid? I asked. No, she said. I got a couple of calls about it. I said it wasn't my responsibility. I leaned in. Do you want to make it your business now? She blinked. Then smirked. I might. What followed was a chain of phone calls, messages, and carefully placed emails. Melissa reached out to the other vendors, florists, servers, photographers. Several had similar stories: confusion, miscommunication, and worse, late or missing payments. Apparently, Rena had taken it upon herself to manage the logistics for the wedding after Bryce and Nadia got overwhelmed. And by manage, I mean she quietly shaved off a chunk of what was owed, claiming they'd overcharged or not performed to standard. But she never told the couple. She made it sound like everything was handled. Meanwhile, she pocketed the difference. I didn't need to expose her with fire and fury. That would have just made me look like I was out for blood. No, I had a better plan. Melissa and I drafted a professional but firm open letter, one that explained how multiple small businesses were denied fair payment during Bryce and Nadia's wedding. It included dates, names, payment receipts, text screenshots, and yes, a blurry photo of the envelope I'd found. The letter never mentioned Rena by name. But it didn't have to. We posted it to the local business review boards, shared it with the regional wedding vendor groups on Facebook, and, most satisfyingly, sent it to a few local reporters who occasionally ran buyer beware pieces in the Roanoke Times. Within days, it exploded. Vendors began sharing their own experiences with Rena. Turns out, this wasn't the first time she'd done this. 2 years ago, she planned a baby shower and claimed the venue lost power and refused to pay for the space. A florist had delivered a large order for a retirement party she organized. Rena claimed half the flowers were rotted and demanded a refund. Patterns. Documented. Shared. Bryce called me in a panic. Rena's flipping out. She says you started some kind of campaign against her. I didn't start anything, I said calmly. I just stopped covering for her. He paused. Then whispered, did she really take money from the vendors? Yes. And from you, technically. That missing envelope? Was in the kitchen the whole time. He was quiet for a long time. Then, Nadia's furious. She said she never wants to see her again. I didn't say, I told you so. I didn't need to. In the weeks that followed, the fallout was delicious without being destructive. Rena's side hustle as a local event coordinator evaporated. No one wanted to book with her anymore. A couple of vendors threatened small claims court. She tried to defend herself publicly, but all that did was call more attention to the facts. Meanwhile, I started getting quiet messages from people in the family. Cousin Lee, I think I owe you an apology. Uncle Lou, I didn't realize how much you carried over the years. I see it now. Even Bryce, 3 weeks later, I wish I'd protected you better. I'm sorry. I forgave some. Not all. But some. Because I didn't do it for the apology. I did it to put a period at the end of a sentence that had gone on way too long. I started going to therapy, real therapy, not venting to friends. I didn't realize how much I'd been internalizing over the years until I started unpacking it with someone who didn't have skin in the game. And Nash? He just stayed. No pressure. No agenda. Just a steady presence. We started having dinner every Thursday, then Saturday brunch. Then one night, he brought over a movie and never really left. Not because I needed saving. But because he respected that I'd already saved myself. As for Rena? Last I heard, she was trying to repair her reputation by throwing a fundraiser at the VFW. Few showed. The florist sent a single carnation with a note that said, "Pay your debts before you plan parties." I laughed so hard I cried. I kept the note. Framed it, actually. Because this wasn't about revenge. Not really. It was about reclaiming the parts of myself that had been swallowed up by expectations, obligation, and silence. And in the end, I got to stand up. Not just on a table, but in my own life.